so much. And thank you, Tom Hughes. Tom Hughes is here. Tom, this is everyone.
Wow.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Can we hear you?
John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's a big crowd. That's great.
It's amazing.
Is it? So where am I right now?
You're in Melbourne. You're in California.
I'm in California. Oh, that's great. Good to see
Tom
everybody.
really is senility kicking in here. Come on.
Okay, I got to tell you a story. You got 30 seconds for a story?
Yep.
Okay, so it's nighttime here in California, right? Or evening, late evening, nighttime. So I'm sitting at home, and my mom's memorial service was today. She passed away shortly ago. And so I was the pastor for her memorial service. Tomorrow we have a big family function for it. And I come home from the memorial service, and I'm relaxing. And one of my friends from the 1980s called. We started talking. And I had on my phone this song that came on, of all songs. It was from a band down under in the 1980s. Oh. It was from Men at Work. And I'm sitting there, literally, John, you can't make this up. I'm sitting there listening to the song from Men at Work from the band down under, and I go, Men Down Under, Australia. I said, oh no, I'm supposed to be live right in like 5 minutes. And so fortunately the studio is really close to my house. And I got here, and praise God, that was totally a God thing that put that together, but it's great to be here.
That's amazing. So, yes, and look, I'm sure I knew your mother was sick, and I'm so sorry that this happened, but obviously, she went home to the Lord, and man, what a blessing that is even to be able to do that service.
That's great. Great to see you all. Great to be here. Even if I'm not physically there, I'm still here with y'all. And it's live. This is cool.
Yep. Very good. Well, look, Tom, thank you so much for at least putting the time in to remember to come and see us.
I didn't remember. God remembered, and He reminded me.
Well, thank you so much. And look, I'm so glad that you're here in Melbourne, even if not in body, you're here in spirit, absolutely. And we're going to talk about a couple of things today, things that are going around in the world, and this is so weird because usually I'm on the other side of this, and now I get to ask you the questions.
Yes, you do. So, you look pretty good on camera. You're not too bad.
What, you think so? Thank you.
Not bad. I'm not bad. Not bad.
Okay. So listen, one of the things I wanted to touch on today, Tom, is you just got off of your trip to Israel. And that's really, at end times, that is really ground zero of what is, where everything's going to end up there. And I just wanted to see really what you experienced there, for one, how you see politically things shaping up as we kind of draw towards the end of this church age, and just if you can just kind of highlight some things that you've seen so far, at least from that trip.
Okay. Sure. Well, there's a lot, so just stop me whenever you need to and ask me another question.
Well, how's it going with building the third temple?
That was great video you did, by the way. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Fortunately for you, I have a sense of humor.
As do I.
But I loved it. So it was probably an hour ago. I was going across some news feeds, and sadly, Tucker Carlson, who we know is not supportive of Israel, but also Matt Walsh, who's here in America. Some of the people that are familiar with him, he leans right. He's been outstanding on things that he shares on social media, and it was very sad to see how he's basically said he joined the Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens team in a sense, and said, well, Israel should be on their own. Israel just needs to, and that surprised me. So I'll be dealing with that over the next week. That was within the last hour I saw that. I didn't know that was coming. Yeah. So here's the reality of it, though. Prophetically, we know that is coming.
Right.
We know Israel's going to stand on their own. It's very sad to see people who are conservative here in America, the conservative bloc that says, we're done with Israel. We're moving on from Israel. With the left, the AOCs, Ilhan Omar's, the radical Muslims. We see, you guys all see what's going on in the universities here in America. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
And we've had it here. We've had it here in Australia as well, Tom. If you remember,
you do. I was gonna bring that up.
Oh, sorry.
In Australia, I've had a lot of anti-Semitic comments that come to us from Australia. But it is what it is. One of my very good friends, he's Jewish. He's not a believer in Yeshua, but he's a dear friend of mine. He was former consul of for Israel in Los Angeles, California. I had went over to his house for Sukkot dinner in Tel Aviv back in October, and he informed me that he is now going to be the consul there. I think it's in Melbourne is where he's going to be. He's in Australia, but I've been watching the anti-Semitism in Australia growing, I said, well, we'll be praying for you. And fortunately, friends, this is just someone who is Jewish. He's not a believer in Yeshua yet. And I want to say yet because we do know that during the tribulation period, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to become believers in Jesus. But as I watch here in America, what's coming from the right, and in Australia, it's already on the conservative side. But I'm watching it on the right. I'm watching the Candace Owens and now Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson, anti-Semitism. So I was in Israel just real recently and talking with just people on the streets, people I know, people I don't know. And they're kind of in this interesting place where they realize they're on their own. Even with the Trump administration, they know Trump has been very favorable to them. However, they also know the U.S. administrations change, they change administrations like you change underwear. 4 years later or 2 years later, depending on Congress and Senate, it's going to change. And then all of a sudden, so you have pro-Israel right now. What do you have in 6 months? And so they know that. And just talking with people across the board, it was like, okay, we appreciate Trump. And John, I'm not saying this is for everybody in Israel, but for people that I was talking with, this was the sentiment.
Sure.
We appreciate Trump. However, we're on our own, and we're looking at it as we're on our own. We appreciate all the support we can get. Iran wants to kill us. We have all of these issues going on. We've got to deal with Hamas. We're on our own. And then you hear someone like me. I hear today Matt Walsh is now saying these things about Israel. I'm thinking everything is going biblically the way that the Bible tells us. However, at the same time, there's also in Israel, just listening to people, they're a pretty stiff-necked and stubborn people, just like the Bible says. You're stiff-necked people. And they're like, what? We are winning. We are going to win. We're awesome. We're Jews. We're Israel. And we're moving forward and we're going to win. We were talking to people, this would be March, so probably 6 weeks ago, 6.5 weeks ago. We're talking to people on the flight over on El Al Air and flight attendants. And I had a great conversation. I was with probably about 5 of them at this particular time. And they said, we are Israel. And they asked me, what am I doing? Who am I? Trying to figure out what this Gentile is doing, going to Israel when nobody wants to go. So I told them, and they were like, but we're Israel. We appreciate you, which they did. But we're Israel. We're strong. We're going to win, even though there's hardly any of us.
Right.
And so what's happening is it's a strengthening of we will do this. And ultimately, we know biblically, the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because biblically, they have to turn to the Lord. We know Zechariah chapter 12, Matthew chapter 23, the words of Jesus, Daniel chapter 12, where God says, I will shatter the power of the holy people. Israel has to come to a place of not trusting in themselves, of not trusting in their neighbor. What's happening and turning to the Lord. Jesus isn't coming at the end of the tribulation until that day happens. So right now, in a sense, what's happening, although the world is turning against them, there's also this, hey, we're going to do this on our own. We're good, but they're not yet turning to the Lord.
So, Tom, let me ask you this question, though, too, because I think as an audience, I just want everybody to be on the same page with this, too. I'm getting this myself. amongst a lot of the Christian people that I bounce things off of as well. And it begs the question of, why should we support Israel? I mean, do we blindly support them? You know, we see reports about genocide this, genocide that. You know, it's not right what Israel is doing. And what is the sentiment on the ground in Israel, for one? And secondly, why do we as Christians support Israel?
All right, well, let me deal with the first part regarding genocide.
Okay.
What we really get are a lot of lies through the media. And it's understanding you have to be able to look at things objectively and not just believe everything that you are told. So it's Hamas. One of the leaders of Hamas is the reporter, is the one who reports for the health ministry of Gaza. So you're trusting one of the head terrorists to tell you how many people are killed. So it was probably, I think it was about 5 weeks ago. I think it was when I was in Israel or somewhere in that time frame, when he finally admitted, okay, maybe those numbers weren't correct. Maybe they didn't really kill 50,000 innocent people. Well, yeah, you think? I mean, it's just absolutely absurd, these lies that keep coming across the U.S. media, all of the Western media, Europe, Australia, all of the Western media. The problem is, once it goes out there, you have a Candace Owens that believes it. You have a Tucker Carlson. You would think someone like Tucker Carlson or Matt Walsh would say, well, let me look at the facts. You know, they used to check the facts before they report them. And now they're just buying into all of these things that they hear. And I know it's, from what I read, it's even worse in parts of Australia, including Melbourne. And I look at these things that are out there in the media. Let's look at the facts. How many nations has there ever been that have warned the people, hey, leave this area because we're about ready to blow up this fake hospital. We're about ready to blow up this so-called school that's not really a school. The UN is involved with Hamas. These things are not false allegations. These are proven things. Right. And yet, when was the last time CNN or even Fox News, for that matter, even reported on it? Mainstream media won't report on it. John, you and I both well know, even alternative media now won't report the facts. Why won't they report the facts? You know, so it's absolutely awful. When the reality of it is, Gaza is completely compromised. To think, okay, there's to have people even say 50% of the people in Gaza aren't radicalized. That's insane. We know the number is almost, it's approaching 100% of the people in Gaza are radicalized. I was just in the area, and that might sound extreme, but if you're willing to look at the facts, these are the facts. So you look at, I was just in, early March, I was in the area of just looking down into Shechem. Shechem is radicalized. Hebron is radicalized. These are areas that are within Israel. When was the last time anybody, just one person, John, on mainstream media that would talk about the problems that Israel has in Judea and Samaria? When was the last time they would even call it Judea and Samaria? They won't. They'll call it the West Bank. You know, when you look at the facts in Gaza, they won't look at the facts. They just report the numbers that come out of the UN or Hamas themselves, which are lies.
Lies to begin with.
That's one. Pardon me?
Lies to begin with. Yes, exactly.
Okay, lies to begin with. Here, and as far as just giving yourself over to Israel blindly, no, I don't do that. I know you don't do that, and this is one of the reasons why we appreciate each other so much. The reason I support Israel is because God has made a covenant with the nation of Israel. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I can follow the biblical covenant. And people will tell me, hey, Pastor Tom, well, wait a minute. When it comes to the nation of Israel and the people of Israel, they've done bad things. Well, tell me a stinking government that hasn't done bad things. I am not supporting Israel because Netanyahu is the greatest person that ever lived. And so these liars that are out there that say these types of things, that accuse me or accuse you of this, that is a bunch of nonsense. And so, no, I don't support Israel because Netanyahu is the most perfect person that's ever lived on the planet. I support Israel because I know God's covenant with Israel. God made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He says in the Old Testament, it is an everlasting covenant. Ezekiel chapter 36, he says, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to gather my people back into the land of Israel. Why am I going to do that? Not because Israel was perfect. In fact, God even calls them on the carpet and he says, they profaned my name wherever they went. But yet, this is what I am going to do. I'm going to call them back into the land in those last days. And after they're back, we're not there yet, into this place where he says, I will put a new heart in them. God says, I am going to do this. In fact, in Deuteronomy, John, when I was there in the area of Shechem, we're standing on the mountain where God, I was there with a guy named Tommy Waller. And so we're talking about the whole area. And it's the place where God made the covenant with Abram. He says, Abram, I make a covenant with you. I'm going to bless those who bless you. I will curse him who curses you. Through you, all of the nations of the earth of the world shall be blessed. All right. I'm standing on that mountain. And then Tommy says, okay, look over here. Here's Gerizim. And we went over to Mount Gerizim. And there's Mount Ebal. Down below is Shechem. There's the land that Jacob purchased. We went to 4 different areas where the people of Israel, the 12 tribes of Jacob, somebody from the 12 tribes of Jacob purchased that land. One of them would be the city of David, where, actually the Temple Mount, where David purchased the land from Araunah, right? So we have there in Shechem, the land was purchased. It was never stolen. This is 3,500 years ago. This is insane, the arguments that the Western media makes right now. And then with David, when he goes and he purchases the land from Araunah, where the threshing floor was, where the temple would have been built at the time of Solomon, but 4 different places. It was purchased with money. All right, so with that, am I getting too wound up for you?
Just a little, but I'll tell you what, now I know how I feel on the other side of this when I overtalk, but that's okay.
Wow, John. Okay.
Hey, I'm taking the shots when and where I can. Thank you.
Do you want me to stop?
No, they want it.
Okay, so
bring it
all
on.
right. So we're standing up there on this mountaintop where, and we'll produce a video pretty soon. I have a new channel called Experience Israel, and it'll be on that channel. Right? It's not going to be politics. Not going to be any of that. But I'm going to be up there with Tommy Waller talking about this. So down below is Jacob's well. Down below is the place where Joseph was sold into slavery by his 11 Jewish brothers, right? So you have all of these things going on. And you look, you go, wait a minute. God says in Deuteronomy, hey, here's the deal. There's Gerizim and Ebal, right? The 2 mountains. Here's Shechem down below. I'm standing there looking at them. And then I'm on Mount Gerizim. And if anybody's familiar with Deuteronomy 27, 28, you know, the 6 of the tribes were on Mount Gerizim, 6 of the tribes were on Mount Ebal, and they're pronouncing the blessings and the cursings. In the middle of the valley of Gerizim and Ebal, in the middle of the valley, John, is, and I know you know this, the Levites are down in the middle of the valley in Shechem. Joshua is down in the middle of the valley in Shechem. What were they doing? As they went through the blessings and the cursings with the priests in the valley below, officiating the whole thing, it was a marriage ceremony. At the end of the blessings and cursings in the book of Deuteronomy, what do the people of Israel do? They shout, we do, or we will, or I do. It was a marriage covenant that the people of Israel made with the land. The problem is that God says, with the cursings, if you don't obey me, I will scatter you to the 4 corners of the earth. Nevertheless, I'll do that, which he did.
Yep.
He says, in the last days, I will gather you back in the land, not because you're perfect, but because my name is on the covenant. So the reason I support Israel is because God's name is on the covenant. And John, I will stand by this book.
Yep.
And I will stand with God in what I do. It's not because Netanyahu is perfect. So the nonsense that's out there from the Tucker Carlsons and the rest of them that say Israel's not a perfect government, was Joe Biden the perfect president?
Yep.
Kamala Harris? What is Trump the perfect president? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Has there ever been a perfect president, perfect king, perfect prime minister? Heck no, there's never been one. So I do this because we have a perfect God, a holy God, and a righteous God. And he says, my name is on this.
Amen.
And I will bless them who bless thee, I'll curse them who curse thee.
Tom, this is exactly the point too. Yes, that's worth a clap. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I think we need to understand about this too, is it's not necessarily that politically they're doing anything right or wrong. God is blessing or will bring them back around because of his name. It's not because of Israel's name, it's because of this covenant that God made with Israel in the end, and because the honor of his name. And I think that's what we all need to understand. So it's not exactly just a blind following. So, that being said, in fact, by the way, you mentioned, when has Israel or when has any country ever given warning to another country that they're going to bomb them? You know what? I actually thought of something during that. World War II, it was the United States. They dropped pamphlets all over Japan before they dropped the bomb on them. And that was the warning they were given. It took, unfortunately, two bombs to finally get Japan to surrender in that case. But that's the only time I can think of where anybody's warned the enemy coming. One other thing too, and I was talking with Billy and Ken in the back room about this earlier. You know, you talk about what's happening in Hamas and Palestinians. It starts from youth. This is evil. The hatred of Israel is all they know. I mean, think about that. This is exactly what Hitler did back in the day. This is why we have the Hitler Youth. Is you start them young. People like you and myself, you know, we're pretty ingrained with what we understand to be right and wrong. But if you started from basically childhood, you know, these children, they don't have a chance. Sorry, there's no question in that.
Yeah. No.
Well, let me ask you this though, too, because some of the feeds that I'm getting right now are in regards. I want to know Israel's take on this. One of the things I'm seeing right now is all the genocide happening in Syria right now, and I think Syria is going to play a big part into they're on Israel's back door or front door essentially, and with all the genocide that's happening there right now, it's basically lending way for Turkey then to step in, for Russia. This is setting up the Ezekiel 38-39 war. One of the things that I am concerned with, I'm going to read this to you, what I found here. U.S. officials have informed Israel that a gradual withdrawal of American forces from Syria is going to begin in the next 2 months. Do you see Israel concerned about that? Because what I see happening is this now lends a corridor for Iran then to essentially send missiles, and this is just me playing armchair prophecy watcher here. It lends a corridor then for Iran to then put missiles in in Damascus. That basically sets a stage then for a reason why Israel would go and destroy Damascus. Do you see that as a possibility, and do you see Syria being a concern for Israel?
Syria is a huge concern, and the last few days, the Druze community in Syria has been shouting for Israel to come to their help. Interesting, the Druze community they're not shouting for the U.S. to come to their help. That leads me to believe they know the U.S. isn't going to come to their help. But the Druze community understands that Israel is the country, the nation that has helped them repeatedly in the past. So and for everybody who's watching this right now, so you have a very significant Druze community, Druze, not Jews, Druze, D-R-U-Z-E, that is in Syria. When Israel pushed into Syria, they came to the defense of the UN, which I wish, I mean, does the UN care about that? All the things the UN does against Israel? No, they don't. We were just up in the Golan Heights 5 weeks ago, and you're able to look at the DMZ zone, and that's where the UN used to be. UN's not there anymore because Israel had to come to their defense. So Israel is pushed into Syria, but the Druze community are being threatened by the terrorists with al-Jawlani, or whatever he changed his name to now and put on a suit. Al-Jawlani is there now in Syria, and he's threatening the Druze to slaughter them. He's been slaughtering Christians. That hasn't gotten much report at all, but he has been slaughtering Christians in Syria. Okay, you have that dynamic. And then you have Erdogan from Turkey. Erdogan is one of the most evil people on the planet right now. He is totally anti-Semitic. He's brilliant. And personally, I think he's out negotiating Trump. That's my thinking. But we'll see how things go. Turkey is also very powerful. They got a powerful military.
Military, exactly.
So what's going to happen? Turkey is taking over Syria. So Turkey with 800 soldiers was able to basically take over Syria, which had 40,000 soldiers. Put that into perspective. 800 versus 40,000.
Right.
And it was all, and by the way, Yasser Arafat, his body was stolen the other day. Did you hear about that?
No.
So, I mean, all these different,
Oh my
so all
gosh.
these different dynamics are taking place. So, but Turkey is the problem. So in Ezekiel chapter 38, I think it's in verse 7, John, where the Bible says with the battle of Gog and Magog, so you have Russia, Turkey, Iran coming from the north. It says in chapter 38, verse 7, that Gog will be a guard for them. A guard. What has been happening in Syria, Russia has been a guard.
Right.
Now, it's interesting as Turkey is growing stronger and stronger. Erdogan is brilliant. Erdogan is exceptionally evil. Don't be deceived by Erdogan, anybody. When we were also in Turkey I'm thinking 3 weeks ago. And one of the ladies who was helping lead a particular excursion we were on, it was just us, right? All prophecy people. She said, we hate Erdogan here in Turkey. He's an evil person.
Really?
We support Israel. It was very interesting. She was saying this on the microphone in the bus driving. She made it very clear. The people, most of the people in Turkey do not like Erdogan.
Is she still a tour guide?
But then she said this. I don't know. She might be dead. But she might
that's what
be.
I'm saying.
But, I mean, she was very vocal. And she said in Istanbul, it's different. She said, I'm not talking for, I think she said 20 million people, whatever's in Istanbul. Istanbul's different, but the rest of Turkey, we do not like Erdogan. Same thing with Iran, by the way.
I was just going to say, this is the same thing with Iran as well, because the people, it's the political party that's driving all of this. It's not necessarily the people.
It's not. Okay, well, also that brings us to Isaiah chapter 19. Where in Isaiah chapter 17 is the destruction of Damascus, which we need to get to because you asked me about that. I haven't even gotten there yet. So in Isaiah, so I'm as bad as you, John. So in Isaiah chapter, well, I'm not that bad. But Isaiah chapter 19, the Bible talks about the people of Egypt turning to the Lord of Israel, Yahweh, because of their oppressors. So we see this already working out in Iran, with the people of Iran saying, wait a minute, we don't like what these oppressors that are leading us are doing. And they're turning to Yeshua. We see what's going on in Turkey, and now actually talking to people there. No, we don't like what the oppressors who are in charge are doing. We don't trust them. And the Bible actually says that's going to happen in Egypt. The people will not, because of their oppressors, they will turn to the Lord of Israel. That is a remarkable thing. All right. Wow. Finally, to answer your question about Damascus. Biblically, Isaiah chapter 17, Damascus is going to be destroyed. What will be the breaking point with the nation of Israel? Because my thinking is it's going to be the IDF that's going to eliminate Israel. It appears to be different than Ezekiel 38, where God intervenes and God annihilates the enemy. In Isaiah chapter 17, it appears to be Israel's military that rises up in Syria, Damascus, and takes out Damascus.
But not only that, it's in one night, though, too, that Isaiah 17 specifies.
It's in one night. Did I say earlier Damascus in Turkey? No, it's Damascus in Syria. I want to make sure I get that right, because people light me up on social media for that one. I know how kind they are. Okay, so Damascus in Syria, Isaiah chapter 17, Israel will annihilate them in one night.
Yes.
So one night, I'm thinking that's Mideast time. So for us, that'd be more in line with where you guys are. With us, it's like we're going into nighttime here. Israel's getting ready to go into daytime where they are. You're already in daytime. So it would be during the evening in Israel time when it takes place. In the morning, Israel time, Mideast time.
Do you think
Damascus
it's literal
is
like
no more.
that? Do you think it's literal overnight?
I do. I think it's well. It's very the text is very literal. You know, and this is one of the weird things. So I was at a conference in North Carolina on the east coast of the United States last week, and a question came up is, when do you take the things literally or symbolically? So, and there's certain criteria that you can have that are really pretty simple to follow. You take them literally unless you can't. You know, so with when you and there's some that are very evident. They're symbolic. They'll say, John will say, I saw this. It looked like that. Or Daniel might say, it had the appearance of. You know, it looked like. He's already telling you it's symbolic at that point. So don't read into something that it's not. It's probably a spiritual dynamic that is taking place there. So, but also if you can take it literally, take it literally. Is there a mark of the beast? Well, I mean, it's almost like you have to put your head in the sand to not take the mark of the beast literally because of what we see going on in AI. Yeah, in fact, you have to. You have to just completely ignore the facts that are on the ground. This is coming. You are going to have an ID. There will be digital tracking. You won't be able to escape from it. Everybody's going to have a mark in order to buy or sell. I mean, they're telling us that already.
And it's moving quickly.
So it's pretty hard. Yeah, it's pretty hard not to take these things literally. Isaiah chapter 17 reads literal as Ezekiel chapter 38 reads. It reads literal. Ezekiel chapter 38 is very clear. It gives us the time frame. When the people who were scattered, it's talking about Israel, are gathered back into the land on the mountains of Israel. It tells you, it gives you the steps it's going to be. And leading into that is chapters 36 and 37 of Ezekiel that talks about the regathering of the people of Israel because God's name is on the covenant. I'm going to do this even dates it in the latter days.
This is all, okay, so this is all part of the Torah, part of the Old Testament. It's clear. Do Israelis see that, though? Do they see it coming? Or is this just some, fictitious sort of thing?
Okay, so I would say a lot of Israelis understand an Ezekiel 38 battle is coming. A lot of them do. So there's a pastor that was here in California, Ray Bentley, who had a good relationship with Netanyahu. Ray passed away a couple of years ago, and he was a Calvary Chapel pastor. And he said Netanyahu and him would talk about the very literal Ezekiel 38 battle. I've had conversations with Avi Lipkin. Avi Lipkin, I've had him on my channel. I'll have him on again. Great friend. He's not a believer in Yeshua. He's made that clear. But he also understands there's a certain particular type of Christian that understands both the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Okay.
And Avi Lipkin gets there's an Ezekiel 38 battle. So there are a lot of Jews that do understand the Old Testament battle of Ezekiel chapter 38. It's very real. It's going to come in the last days. Are they willing to look at it to the extent of someone like you or I are, or people in your audience? The majority of them, probably not. The Haredi, I would say, definitely not. For the Haredi are, for your viewers, everybody out there is, the people with black hats and they got the curls down there, curls and stuff, and they have a different belief system.
That's Elsternwick around here. So
that's what?
Elsternwick around here. That's where if you want to get a good bagel, you go down there. So it's a Melbourne thing. Anyway, so no problem. Well, look, I don't want to spend all the time here just on Israel, especially, here we are in Australia, and I just want to really highlight why this is really important to us, because I think what we need to understand more than anything is just sign of the times. I mean, we don't know how much time we have left, but we're pointing in the direction to all this prophecy to say, this is happening, it's real, we don't know how much time we have left, but pay attention. One of the things I do want to talk on too, and I think, Tom, you did a program on this as well. I want to shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk about the Pope. What's going on there? I mean, is this the false prophet at the door that we see going on? Oh, he's getting a text message.
How'd you know I got a text message? Guess who the text message is from?
Billy Crone?
That's somebody else in your back room.
What?
Okay, let me answer the text message. Mondo, don't text me while I'm doing a live stream.
Where is he? Where?
I will email you that link.
Come on, man. Seriously?
That is funny. That's great. Okay. That's funny.
Hey, don't you? My phone's in the back room. I know better. Where are you doing?
That's hilarious. Mondo, you're funny. Okay, your question was about the Pope? What was it about?
I don't know, Tom. Okay. So obviously, you know what's funny is I had somebody recently even say to me, the Pope's going to be the false prophet. And I'm like, he's not looking too good. And then next thing you know, he dies. So, there is an old prophecy. I don't have it handy, but there is a prophecy from, I think, the 12th century or something like that. And, take it with a grain of salt. That he was saying that the 100-and-something Pope would be the false prophet in the end. I'm sure you guys know. Maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. Nonetheless, let's avoid that. But what I'm saying is that, okay, they're behind closed doors. They're deciding on someone. Do you think that this next Pope is the false prophet? What are the things that could basically come out of this?
You are trying to put me on the spot.
Hey, at least I'm not making you set a date for the rapture, okay?
Yeah.
So hold on.
All right, so let's work through it. So I've been saying for quite some time, I didn't just start this like 3 weeks ago. For quite some time, I started saying this. This Pope is not the false prophet. And the reason I said it is because of how old he was. I knew his health was bad. So probably about a month and a half ago, I said, hey, look, this dude's going to die, all right? And then people, I was getting emails from some well-meaning people I communicate with, people you probably know, John. And they said, well, what if and I said, look, the false prophet and Antichrist, they have to be alive at the end of the 7-year tribulation because they're joining in Armageddon. And I said, this dude's too old to get there. There's no way. I said, he's in and out of health. When we were in Italy just recently, I said, this might sound really mean, but I was hoping we were going to be there when we see the white smoke and the black smoke come up, And was that wrong of me to say that publicly? But I was, I was like, how cool would that be? So, am I getting in trouble with is this live?
Yeah.
Are people watching this right now? So
come on, Tom, be bold.
Anyways, that didn't happen. So I come back a week later. Bada boom, bada bing, he's gone. All right, he's dead. All right, even Carlo Vignano, Archbishop Carlo Vignano, who's very Catholic, by the way, so I don't ascribe to everything he says, but he said this Pope who just died is now going to have to face the consequences. He has to answer for everything that he said. And Carlo Vignano did not talk about purgatory, which surprised me because I know Carlo Vignano is still very, very Catholic. Nevertheless, it's appointed a man once died and then face the judgment. Hebrews chapter 9, right? There is no purgatory, everybody. There's no purgatory. With the next Pope, listen, the Pope is, when we look at the false prophet, Revelation chapter 13, he has 2 horns like a lamb, but he speaks like a dragon. Mm-hmm. So in other words, everybody's going to think he's representing Christianity, Christendom.
Yes. But
what he comes out of his heart is the devil himself. Like the devil. He speaks like the dragon being Satan in the book of Revelation. So he's going to speak like that, but people are going to think, oh, he's Christian. So the Pope is, to me, a Pope is a perfect candidate to be a false prophet, or the false prophet. But I'm not going to go out there and say the Pope is the false prophet. I won't do that, John.
Oh, come on.
I won't do that. I know you want me to. You'd also like me to name the Antichrist, and I know you would like me to give you the date of the rapture. Listen, I'll say this. I believe that we have got to be ready.
Yep.
There are things that are happening now that they're just unbelievable when you think of them. We are being fast marched into the time of the coming tribulation period. And if we understand you literally can't make this up, that we have a convergence of all the different things, Old Testament and New Testament, all happening at the same time. The world's eyes are on Israel. What started October 7, 2023 is causing anti-Semitism to be exposed from the liberals and conservatives, and all eyes are focusing on Israel. They're going to focus in on Jerusalem. Jerusalem's going to become more and more the center point, everybody, and you're going to be faced with more and more opposition. More and more people are going to hate you if you stand up for Israel, and if you say these things are going to come about. But the focus it's eventually, John, I think in the very near future, is going to focus on the Temple Mount and that gold dome. It's going to come down. We're going to be hearing more and more. It's going to zero in there. And MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the rising leader of Saudi Arabia, he's even said it. He said, Islam doesn't really have any rights to the Temple Mount. So he has people saying this. I have a copy of the original document. The original document is a museum in Israel that I take people to. And in that original document, it's the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, at his leadership, the one who led Hitler to kill the Jews. He said, the one who hated the Jews, he was actually the one who helped to push forward what became the PLO under Yasser Arafat, right?
Wow.
He's the main person why we're dealing with what we're dealing with today, apart from Hadrian in 135 AD. These two guys, the Grand Mufti and Hadrian.
Wow.
And this guy said Solomon's temple was on the Temple Mount, where that gold dome is. He said it. That guy who hates the Jews said it. And I have the actual document where he said it, and where it was certified by his organization, I should say. So we have these things. They're all going forward so fast. Revelation chapter 1, John writes, he gets this word from the angel, and the angel tells him, I will show you things which must shortly take place. So word shortly is Greek word takos. It means once things begin to unfold, they will unfold, so they're just going to unfold rapidly. They're not going to unfold, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a break, and then another break. The birth pangs are like that, right? But once the actual events of the last day start, baby, there ain't no stopping them.
Yep.
So people think all of a sudden we're going to have a big old, let's have a do-over. No, there were people that actually thought that, John, you and I talked about this during COVID. There are people who thought during COVID, we're going to get an do-over. Let's start over. This isn't working so good. We said that ain't going to happen. Guess what, folks? It hasn't happened. None of this is going to happen. And more anti-Semitism is being exposed. And you and I, all of the people who understand Bible prophecy and understand the Bible, we're going to be marginalized more and more. But we must understand this word is true. We will be vindicated. Jesus is on the throne. Everything is going to happen exactly like he says it is. He even says in here in the book of Revelation, see, I have told you these things. What I have written, it will be done.
Amen. That's excellent words there, Tom. And Tom, we are quickly running out of time. And unlike some people, I want to be on time. So...
Okay, who is
touche.
so far?
However, Tom, I just want to say this much to the audience, and I'm going to give you the final word on this too. The reason why we talk about all this stuff and everything that's going on here is we need to know what times we live in. You all have your own circle of influence. And I'm telling you, this weighs heavily on my own heart in that I want to take every opportunity. Look, I'm up here because I feel blessed. It's not, this is an absolute privilege to be here. Tom, I know you feel the same way about your ministry and everything that you do. But really, the goal here is how many people can we lead to Christ? How many people can we tell the gospel to? You have your own circle
Amen.
of influence. You've got a limited amount of time. Who's on your mind today? That's who you need to be speaking with. Tom, I give the last word to you on this.
Okay, I want to know this. Who went over? Billy never goes over. Billy's great to have.
Who do you
never
think?
Goes over. So you have two other options, Ken or Mondo.
Who do you think?
Mondo.
Winner. As they say here, winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay, Mondo. There you go. Hey, listen, everybody. The time is short. Jesus said, we work while we still have day. We still have day. I'm telling you, this stuff is going so fast. I don't predict dates. I don't predict Antichrist. And no matter what John wants me to do, I ain't going to predict who the false prophet is. But I can tell you this much. We are living on borrowed time.
Yep.
And we need to be ready. And don't be discouraged. More and more people are going to come against you. More and more people are going to mock you and make fun of you. But remember what Peter said. Scoffers will rise in the last day saying, where's the promise of his coming? They're going to make fun of you. But the day is coming. We will stand before the Lord and we will be vindicated. And our reward is in heaven. And in Luke chapter 12, give me 30 more seconds, John.
Mondo, is that okay?
Okay, 30 more.
Okay,
25.
he said he gave you a
25.
thumbs up.
All right. In Luke chapter 12, Jesus is given a parable about he says, when the master comes, if he comes in the second house, in the second watch, blessed are you if you're watching. But if he doesn't come until the third watch, blessed are you. In other words, there's a reward for you. Some of us thought he was coming in the second watch over the last 5 years. He's not here yet. And then Jesus went on and said the third watch. That's midnight to 3 in the morning. There's a reward for you because you hung in there when everything was against you. Everything said, give up. It's all coming, or whatever it is. Things may start looking rosy all of a sudden. Don't be deceived. If he doesn't come until the third watch, there's a reward for you who are still watching. So be strong in the Lord. Do not stop watching and waiting and warning.
Amen. Yeah. Very good, Tom. Tom, thank you so
John,
much.
You're treating everybody to dinner tonight, right? When your conference is over. Is that true?
I am, but you're buying.
Ouch. Oh, by the way, John, this is a blessing for you guys, all right? So I have my first book, and we're going to do a digital copy of it where you can download it to like Kindle. And because of people in Australia and New Zealand who can't, it's really hard to get hard copies. It's going to be free.
Awesome.
So
how are they going to be able to get that? How can we tell them?
Pardon me?
Go to hopeforourtimes.com?
Yeah, it will be on Hope for Our Times. Craig, how much longer before it'll be ready? Probably a couple more weeks. But it will be on the website, Hope for Our Times. And I'll announce it too. I will announce it on, Craig says 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, and I will also announce it too, that it will be on hopeforourtimes.com and it will be free. I feel bad for people who are living in Europe and Africa and land down under, and Canada's a little bit easier, Mexico, but you guys, it's tough to get things to. So it's going to be free digital download and on Kindle.
Amazing. Tom, thank you so much.
Adios, everybody. Mondo, God bless you. Hey, cut Mondo's time shorter next time. Make him make up for the extra time he went.
We still got one more day coming up in the Gold Coast, so maybe we'll get him back then.
Okay. All right, I'll send Mondo a text.
Do it.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, Tom.